would like to welcome you to our workshop today with Tanya Lewis, the Eco Organiser for Frankston City Libraries. Before we do get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which Frankston City Libraries operates, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and future. I'd also like to extend that acknowledgement to the elders of any other communities who may be joining us today. So welcome. We're here to learn about ethically decluttering and also mindful spending this Christmas in your gift choices. So I will hand over to Tanya. Welcome, Tanya.
Hello, how is everybody today? Thank you for having me. And today we're going to be talking about how to ethically declutter for a sustainable Christmas and maybe to continue on for the rest of the year and into the new year, to be sort of more sustainable and mindful and thinking about the impact that we have on the planet. So today we're going to discuss ways to reduce, reuse, recycle waste and clutter at home and connect you with over 100 ways to responsibly dispose of waste. Also going to learn about why the 10 R's, the organising system that I've developed, makes life more enjoyable, productive, financial and sustainable. But just to tell you a little bit about who I am. As in the introduction, my name is Tanya Lewis. I'm the founder of Eco Organiser. I've been a professional organiser now for 10 years, and it's been a great journey in developing my product, and I've been fortunate enough to deliver that internationally. So my system, the 10 R's, is now being taught at Strathclyde University in Scotland. I'm actually speaking at, virtually of course, at Queensland Uni. And I've also spoken delivered my presentation to the University of Melbourne. And I've been spokesperson for some fabulous things like Mobile Muster and Oz Harvest. And the idea was that to empower people to ethically declutter and recycle their mobile phones. And in return, for every mobile phone that we recycled, Oz Harvest fed somebody in need. And our goal was to recycle 75,000 phones, and we exceeded that. And what that meant was 75,000 people in need received a meal. And that's the essence of Eco Organiser. It is about turning our clutter into opportunities for others and diverting the waste from landfill. I've also had the privilege of speaking at the Sydney Opera House at an International Thought Leaders Festival on how to ethically declutter. I'm Planet Ark Ambassador, and I've been National Ambassador for Garage Sale Trail. And along the lines, I've worked with the likes of Peter Walsh at the Sydney Theatre Company, and I've also done a little bit of work with the project War on Waste, and a bit of a regular on ABC radio and TV. But what I am most proud of is the fact that the Eco Organiser community, and I say that as the clients that I've worked with or the presentations I've delivered, we have diverted, as of yesterday, 43,000 kilos of unwanted stuff from landfill. So that's stuff that's come out of people's homes, and because we connect with different community groups and charities and things like that, which I hope to be able to share a lot of resources with you today, we've been able to turn our clutter into opportunities for others. And along the way, we're reducing clutter and waste in our homes. So, but what is eco-organising? Well, it blends the traditional aims of creating order and space in our life with the absolute passion for closing the loop. And Eco Organiser and the 10 R's was founded because people would say to me, Tanya, what can I buy before you come and help me declutter and get organised? And I'd say, absolutely nothing. Most of us have what we need. Buying more stuff is not the solution. And buying storage containers, it doesn't reduce waste and clutter. The solution is to sort, organise, ethically declutter, and importantly, it's to rethink what we need and want in our life. Anything more in our life is just a waste. And all our waste comes with a carbon footprint. Now, I believe Greta Thunberg puts it beautifully when she says, we live in a strange world when we think we can build and buy our way out of a crisis that was built on building and buying stuff. And what is clutter? It is different for every single person. What you consider clutter, somebody else may consider an absolute treasure. So when it comes to ethically decluttering, you're in the hot seat and you get to make the decisions on what stays and what goes. And I'll share with you my strategy on how to ethically declutter very soon. But first of all, let's talk about what is clutter. I sort of define it as anything that is no longer relevant or useful in your life. It doesn't add value and it gets in the way of living the life that you want. So start thinking about the things in your home. You may be looking at it right now. Anything that is no longer useful or adds value to your life. Anything that you move from one place to the other, you dust it, you store it, but you never use it and it gets on your nerves. You've just started to define what your clutter is. And clutter costs. What is the true cost of clutter? It wastes space, time, money. It's affecting our planet and it's also affecting our happiness and our health and well-being. Now, this is a makeup family, but it's a story about real clients that I worked with a few years ago. And I'm going to call them Kerry and David for just privacy reasons. They were a blended family and they were struggling to fit within their small home. We worked together and they set their goals as to why they wanted to ethically declutter. And that's something that you need to work on yourself is why do you want to do this? Well, their goal was to create a space, a home, that all the kids wanted to come and spend time with them. They also wanted to save money for a family holiday. Now, by following the 10 R's, within the first week, they reduced their grocery bill by $50, effectively saving themselves $2,600 a year. Now, that's not to mention the reduced food waste, the packaging, the time spent at the supermarket. By reorganising their lounge room, they were able to open the windows to allow more air and light to come into that room. Now, with their home now naturally ventilated in summer, they were not relying on their air conditioning, which was saving them more money and reducing their carbon footprint. And by focusing on their goals and eco-organising, they made over $800 selling unwanted stuff online. You know, even the kids got into the swing of things by refusing new toys to save money for that new holiday. And then one night Mum and Dad wanted to order a pizza. And the kids said, no, Mum, let's not, because we cannot recycle the pizza box. And that's due to the fact that it's too much oil and we can't recycle them when they get really oily and greasy. But a few years on, I had the absolute joy of receiving a photograph of the family holidaying on the Gold Coast. So they were able to achieve their goals by ethically decluttering. But let's break down these different types of waste. Now, we can call this waste or clutter, same thing. Whatever it is, if it's clutter, it's wasting our time, space, and energy. So, just with the space alone, if we stacked every box of clutter around the coastline of Australia, it would go around about 6 times. Now, this has come from a study done in Australia in 2017. This is not figures that I've made up. So all of this stuff comes from somewhere, and it comes with a carbon footprint. Have you ever said to yourself or heard somebody say, I couldn't find it, so I bought another? Or I didn't know I had it, so I bought another. We call that the clutter spiral. Trapped in clutter, unable to find what we want when we want it. Now, building bigger and bigger homes to accommodate this stuff, it doesn't make financial or environmental sense. Eco-organising is easy and it doesn't cost the earth. Now, what about the time? How much time do we waste looking for stuff? How much time do we spend at work earning the money to buy stuff? Now, let me share with you the definition of stuff from the Australian Oxford Dictionary. It says that stuff is a collection of things not needed to be specified. It's valueless matter, it's trash, and it's nonsense. Now, I don't know of anybody lying on their deathbed saying, I wish I got to the half-yearly sales. They're more likely to say, I wish I had more time. And what about money? It's estimated that the total financial value of clutter in Australian households is $6,623. And again, this has come from a study. It's not something that we've just plucked out of the air. We also know that the average Australian family spends $963 a year on Christmas gifts, but $620 worth of that are considered unwanted. So here we are, we're buying stuff for people that they don't even want, and they shove it in the back of the cupboard. And we also throw away each year $3,800 worth of edible food. Now, add all that up, you've got about $11,000 a year that we're wasting. So here's something that you might like to think about. How and what would you use $11,000 for? Something to think about, isn't it? And what about our planet? So 1 in 5 shopping bags of food end up in the bin. That's a fact in Australia. Now, my very first client 10 years ago was organising her kitchen. And here's your tip, your first tip on actually how to start decluttering. Always start small. Don't think of it of a giant big project. Start small. And what we did was we worked one shelf at a time. And we started to bring things out of the pantry and put them onto the kitchen bench so that we could start to see what she had. And grouping things like with like. That's the other thing that you really want to do. So start small and group like with like. And when you do that, you start to see how much you have, also what you have, but you don't use. So the clutter. And when we started to group the jam together, we came across 36 jars of apricot jam. And my client just said to me, I didn't know I had them, so I went and bought more. So this is when we started to sort of come up with that idea of, ooh, she's stuck in a clutter spiral, couldn't find it, went and bought more. And of course, the impact of this is the fact that all this fruit, the apricot, grown on a tree and a farmer fertilizes that he prunes and then he harvests and then it gets shipped to a factory and it gets manufactured and then it gets shipped to a distribution center and we buy this stuff and then we shove it in the back of the cupboards. And all of this is having an impact on the planet. There's something else that's definitely impacting our consumption on the planet, and it's a day called Earth Overshoot Day. Now, it's a day that marks the date when humanity's demand for the ecological resources of what the planet can produce for us in 1 year is exceeded. This year in 2020, Earth Overshoot Day fell on the 22nd of August. In 2019, it was actually in July, but because we're not flying around the world as much, it was actually pushed back slightly. And you might think, well, what can I do to slow down or push back Earth Overshoot Day? Well, we know in Australia, we buy on average 27 kilos of textiles, clothing a year, and we throw away 22 to landfill. We also know that it takes between 7,000 to 8,000 litres of water to produce one pair of jeans. So maybe it's about forgetting that buy one, get one free and thinking about those sorts of things. I don't really need it, or is it going to add value to my life? Or do I have similar already? When we stop and pause and rethink, we start to become a more mindful consumer. And when we start to do that, we can start to make a world of difference. And if you're still trying to figure out how and why you want to do this, here's just a little quote I always like to say. What's worth more, the stuff or the opportunity to simplify life? So that's just something to think about. But one of the things I'd like you to think about, and maybe we can discuss this at the end when we have our Q&A, is why do you want to do this? Why do you want to declutter? My couple here wanted to declutter because they wanted a home that the family could all enjoy and they wanted that family holiday. So think about what your why is, because when you know your why, you are so close to getting it all done. Without your why, it's very difficult to actually complete some projects. So, shall we do a little bit of decluttering? You will need to create a space to declutter. Don't do it in dark, cramped conditions. Make sure it's light and bright and cheerful. And if you want to, throw on your favourite music so you can get into the mood and the swing of things. You will need a rubbish bag because not everything can be recycled, repaired, repurposed. There are some things that will have to go to landfill. You'll need another couple of other containers. Now, they don't have to be boxes. They could be anything you could find. But if you can put some labels on it, it just helps you. It's a little bit of a shortcut. Mark one container, stay. Mark one container, donate. Obviously, that's for things, quality items to donate. Then, of course, there's return. So these are the things that don't belong in the area that you're working in. They need to be returned to another place within the home or outside of the home. And you'll need a recycle container. Now, if you're working in the kitchen and you have a compost bin, maybe put the compost bin close by as well. So the next thing is to always, as I said, start small. Start in the bottom kitchen drawer, start in the laundry cupboard, start on the bedside table. If you're sick and tired of waking up and seeing clutter as the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, maybe that's where you want to start, but always start small. So open the drawer and take things out, pick them up and put them in your hand, and maybe ask yourself, do you still add value to my life? Are you relevant? Does it work? Start to ask these sorts of things of your stuff. And then you place them in the relevant containers. So for instance, I've just got a little bit of, to demonstrate a few things for you. I've chosen a drawer in the kitchen, the bottom kitchen drawer, and I've found a couple of things. So old receipts and things like that we seem to hang on to, that actually has to go in your landfill bin because it's covered with a particular type of plastic. So that has to go into your landfill bin. Now, I've also come across a measuring cup, and that's okay in the bottom kitchen drawer. So it goes into the stay container. But you're making the decisions on where your stuff goes. Now, we've also come across a recipe that was torn out of a magazine while you were sitting in the doctor's surgery, and you pulled it out and you shoved it in your handbag and you thought, I'm going to cook that one day, but you never got around to it. You might want to have a look at it and say, I don't even eat that way anymore. Why am I hanging on to it? So this would go into the recycle bin. Likewise, we found a ball of alfoil, which when screwed up into a ball that size, if it's clean, it can go in your recycle bin. So anything about palm size, just scrunch it up and put it in your recycle bin. Now, the other thing that we found in the bottom kitchen drawer was an old money belt. Now, to me, this doesn't really belong in the money belt. To me, this could either be donated because it's still in good condition, or it could be placed with other travel items. So I would place that in the returns container. Now, when you've finished sorting out the drawer, give it a quick clean. Now, this is the following actions that you do. You only put the stay contents back in the drawer. That's it. This is what the function is of that space. So the things that need to go in there, go in there. You might find as you're decluttering other parts of the house that things belong in that drawer, then you place it in that drawer. So stay, they go in there. Deal with the landfill, deal with the recycling. The donating, try and get your donating out of the house as quickly as you possibly can. Don't leave it at the front door, because I guarantee you're going to go back through it again. So don't do that. You've already made that hard decision of letting go. So try and get it out of the house as quickly as possible, and don't leave it in the boot of the car and drive it around for 2 weeks. It doesn't need a road trip. It actually needs to go. So try and get it out of the house as quickly as you possibly can. Now, we've done all those. We're up to the returns. Now, this is the really key one, and this is what I find a lot of people say to me, this is my light bulb moment. This makes it all work for me. Once you finish those first processes, pick up the returns container and return things to their correct home. Do not do it as you are sorting, because if you do it as you're sorting, if you find something like the money belt and you go, I'm going to return this to where all the travel gear is, you're going to get to that spot and you're going to start decluttering there. And you actually haven't finished what you set out to achieve. And when we fail, we tend to start layering guilt and things on us, going, oh, this is too hard, I can't do this. Oh, I'll just go and buy another storage container because that'll help me get organized. So it is really important that this one is the last step. So I think that's covering how to ethically declutter. But if we don't have, if I've missed something, please bring it up in the Q&A when we get to the end. So we'll keep going here. So the 10 R's. This system I've taught to over 8,000 people around the world, which has then all helped to divert the 43,000 kilos of waste from landfills. So just quickly, and then we'll go into these and how you can integrate these into your life and also have that enjoyable, sustainable Christmas. So number one is rethink. And that is before we buy something, just stop and pause for 3 seconds and allow your emotions to catch up with your rational thoughts, because the marketing want us to buy this stuff. But in that 3 seconds, just ask yourself, do I need it? And will it add value to my life? Number two is be responsible for the disposal of unwanted stuff, or take responsibility for it. Number three is refuse stuff that does not add value to our lives. Because when we start to think about these things, we're not bringing clutter into our homes anymore. And we're not ended up having to sit in on a webinar and learn how to declutter. And we're saving money as well, and time. Number four is repurpose things before buying more. And number five is reorganize so that we can fit within our current footprint in our home and make ourselves comfortable. Number six is repair things before landfill. And number 7 is reduce waste. Let's look at how we can reduce waste. Number 8 is reuse. Let's choose reusable over single-use options. And number 9 is recycle right. And number 10 is reward. We're talking about some fairly major lifestyle changes here. Make sure that we build in rewards for ourselves along the way. When you've done, the whole kitchen or something like that, or even part of the kitchen, if you've decluttered for 3 drawers in your kitchen, do something to reward yourself and say, yeah, great, I did that. Now I'm going to take the dog for a walk. I'm going to have a coffee somewhere, but make sure that you reward yourself. And the ultimate too is that when we reduce waste, we reduce our carbon footprint, and that rewards us all. So let's break down the 10 R's. Number 1 is, as I said, rethink. And after the tumultuous time that we've had with COVID, buying more stuff, will it make us happy? Or do we find ultimate joy in just being with the people that we love? Some other questions you might want to ask yourself, apart from the do I need it and will it add value, is there an equivalent with less packaging? Stop bringing that packaging into our home, it's clutter. Or if it has to be packaged, how can I reuse that packaging? And I've got some examples of how you can reuse packaging for Christmas ideas later on. Also ask yourself, do I have similar already? Going back and doing that mental stock take of what I have in the house starts to reduce that clutter spiral. And also too, when we're buying things, maybe it's a good idea to ask what the recycled content is of the particular product. And what do I mean by that? Well, my laptop case here is made from recycled PET bottles. So we can now start to buy products that are made from our waste. And that's where that term I used before called circular economy, that type of thing starts to kick in, is utilising and using our waste. Now also to asking ourselves, where can I donate my unwanted items? And so if you want to check out my website, ecoorganiser.com.au, there's one page there called Useful Links, and there's over 100 ways that you can responsibly dispose of unwanted stuff, either by donation or recycling. Number 2 is responsible. The other question you may wish to ask yourself is, where will I how will I dispose of things at end of life? So when it's finished, how do I dispose of it? And we can actually ask when we're buying our products. So for instance, if you're buying a new refrigerator or something like that, a lot of the companies now, when they deliver your old refrigerator, they take the other one away and it's being recycled. But, it could be something like we did with Mobile Muster and Oz Harvest. We can recycle our mobile phones. We've got over 8 million of these things clogging our homes in Australia, and there's valuable materials in there that can be reused over and over again. So it's really important that we start to actually think about, how can I dispose of my stuff responsibly? And as we're coming into Christmas and we're thinking about food and things like that, maybe looking at what is locally grown so that we can actually support our local growers and farmers and things like that. And also too, we're not having food flying in from the other side of the world, because that comes with food miles, which comes with emissions. Now, there's a new phenomenon called, collaborative consumption, where we don't buy stuff, but we can borrow. And I think a great idea for a Christmas gift is somebody that, loves to tinker in the shed. Rather than buying them another electrical tool or that may only get used once or twice a year, become a member of a tool library. So you're paying an annual subscription and you just go and borrow things. So a tool library could be a great option. Now in Carlton in Melbourne, there's a new one and it's called a kitchen library, which I think is fantastic. So rather than buying all those kitchen gadgets, you can just go and borrow them. Number 3 is refuse. You know, it is okay, to say no thank you to stuff. Remember, the stuff that doesn't add value to our lives. It's okay to say no thank you. To the buy one, get one free. The excess packaging, we can say no, look, I don't want the excess packaging, and the single use. And, say no to things that just don't add value to our lives. Number 4 is repurpose. Wherever possible, we try and repurpose things before buying more. And, Christmas is a great time where we can, open up our cupboards and have a look and see how we can repurpose the stuff that's cluttering our homes. So this particular image I found, if you've got little cane boxes, something like that, maybe you could repurpose that as gift wrapping instead of going and buying these things. Let's start to use our creativity and think how we can repurpose things. Here's a few more that I found. Now, like there's a wreath here that's been made out of, cans. It's something that you could collect the cans, spray paint them, put on some decoration, and that could be something that you could be using year after year after year. And there's just some other little cute decorations that people have made and some wrapping ideas. But the whole idea is, let's just utilize what we have. And, we can save our money to do other special things that we want to do, maybe traveling when we can. Number 5 is reorganize. Now, it is a very, very well-known fact that our homes don't come with elastic side walls. When our homes become stuffed, they become uncomfortable, they don't function, and it can affect our health and our relationships. Outsourcing and hiring a storage unit costs a lot of money. So let's think about how we can reorganize our homes. What can we let go of, things that don't have value anymore, to be able to reorganize to fit within that current footprint so that we can enjoy our space. So ethically decluttering and just reorganizing to fit within our current footprint. Number 6 is repair. In a world of designed obsolescence, and we're conditioned to throw things out, I like to introduce everybody to the idea of repair cafes. Now, there's over 2,600 of these around the world, and it's where you take things to be repaired. You can either learn how to repair or things can be repaired for you. So check out my useful links website, page on my website, and it will take you to a link that gives you all of the repair cafes around the world. So one near you. Now, it's a mindset change about, repairing things, and I always look at repairing before buying or throwing away. And one of the things I had to get repaired were some crystal glasses because I was naughty and I put them in the dishwasher, and of course they became chipped. So I asked a glazier if he could repair them for me because I had heard that good crystal can be repaired. I thought, well, because they engrave crystal, why can't they do something there? And so we gave it a try and they repaired. He just ground down the top and they are repaired and being used right now. So let's think about how we can repair things. Number 7 is reduce. So we are awash with reusable products, the cups, the shopping bags, and all those sorts of things. But what else can we do to reduce waste or clutter? And again, with Christmas coming on, maybe we could look at our own herbs and things like that, because to buy herbs in the supermarket, they're expensive and they come in packaging. So maybe it's something that you could try yourself or you could give as a Christmas gift. Now, also creating a shopping list and a meal plan and watching our portion sizes at Christmas time is definitely a way of reducing waste, saving money as well. Because food waste, when we send it to landfill, is one of the worst toxic emissions, methane. And so if we can reduce our food waste, we're certainly a lot working towards a more sustainable lifestyle. Now, also another thing you can do at Christmas time, instead of using the single-use products, maybe dig out those old napkins and those sorts of things, or if you haven't got them, go to the op shop and buy some napkins. This image that I have here is I picked up these napkins at an op shop, and they're pure Irish linen. They're beautiful. They're brought out. We use them from, when we have an occasion to use them. So these are sorts of things that we can do to reduce waste. And also too, if we have these things sitting in our homes, why not use them? Number 8 is reuse. So if we're looking at products, we want to give a gift, maybe we could use that packaging. So if you've bought a product, look at the packaging and say, how can I reuse it? And you think, well, maybe I could put something in that and give it as a gift for Christmas. So this image is sort of just got some olives and things like that. But maybe you could fill it up with some nuts or some, homemade cookies or whatever that, you sort of want to do, or whatever you think your friends would eat. And then they can go on and reuse that packaging as well as a storage container. Number 9 is recycle. Now, it's really important that we do recycle right. If we put the wrong thing into the recycle bin and it gets put into the truck, potentially we're contaminating that whole truckload, and that whole truckload then has to go to landfill. So it's really important that we connect with our local council to find out what we can and can't recycle. I can't stress that enough for you. So I've got lots of information. So if you're dialing into this and you're from the Frankston Library, these resources are applicable to you. I've got others which are applicable, other slides coming up, which are applicable to other people living in Australia. So in Frankston, we've got the Frankston Regional Recycling and Recovery Centre. Always have a look at that one. Now, they also have another service called Detox Your Home. So you'll be able to link to any of these from the Frankston City Council website. They've also got an A to Z of waste and recycling directory. You want to check out when the hard waste collections are, and also, again, that bin information, because it's really important that we get the right thing in the right bin. So what else have we got? Now, there's a new recycling labelling system out in Australia, and this was put together by Planet Ark, which I'm one of their ambassadors. So when you pick up some packaging, just check the back of it and see if there's any of these sorts of logos in there, because I think this is great, because it's just pictorial and it just says, like the box, it goes in the recycle bin. The other one, the bag there, it says return to store. Now that's the red cycle system, which I'll tell you a little bit about. And then it says, the lid of, say, this particular product, it goes to in the bin. So it's a really simple, I think it's a really simple system to follow. So check out just the backs of packaging for that sort of thing. Now, we've also, as I said, asked the council. Now, generally, what councils can recycle for you also, but not in your wheelie bin, are things like paint, gas bottles, light globes, smoke detectors, oils, and like motor oils, but also cooking oils can also be recycled as well. E-waste, now that's your computers and your TVs and those sorts of things. X-rays, ink cartridges, and as I said, the red cycle is another one. So the image I had here of this glass jar, that's just in my kitchen actually. And that's where any of those things where soft plastic, so any of those things where it may be marked return to store, or any sort of plastics you can scrunch, pasta bags, muesli bags, that type of thing, we place it in there. When that container's filled, I empty it and I take it to either Coles or Woolworths, and there's a bin out the front and you put it in there. You can even put things like express post envelopes in the red cycle bin. So this is just another way that we can recycle stuff beyond the wheelie bin. Now we can recycle textiles through, now these links are on my website, apparel is on my website. Country Road has joined forces with the Red Cross, and they have it's called Fashion Trade, and I've just done a blog on that. They have a way of recycling designer label clothes. So you might want to have a look at my blog, which was called The Sustainable Road, and that'll tell you how you can do that. And you also get a credit for that, so you get a little reward for donating your designer labels. H&M also have a clothes recycling system. Now there's another one called Shoes for Planet Earth. You can find that link on my website. That's for recycling shoes. Now also to how we recycle, we can make a bit of a difference as well. We can rinse things and remove the labels and put them in the bin. We can separate, take the lids off. Officeworks is a great place for ink cartridges, pens and e-waste. We've got TerraCycle, which is for toothpaste tubes and cosmetics, the mobile phones. Batteries, we can recycle Aldi's, and it's coming to Woolworths and Foodworks. And we've also got bread tags, that's Aussie bread tags. They recycle the little bread tags to make wheelchairs for people in need. And I mentioned the alfoil. We've also got Share Waste, which is good for food waste. So have a look at that app. It's an app, that one. And then, of course, make sure you have a look at the useful links page on my website. Now, I'm going to scoot along because I want to get some question time in. Now, number 10, reward. It's really, really important that we make sure that we build in that reward for ourselves. So this is all in your hands now. It's up to you to decide what your clutter is, or decide your why, decide what your clutter is. You now have a system to ethically declutter. So this is in your hands. So maybe that's something you'd like to think about and ask questions, and also think about where you could spend that $11,000 as well. So what I'd like to do now is open this up to Q&A.
Well, Tanya, Andrea has commented that she went to a repair cafe before COVID and had some clothes fixed. It was great, and she made a donation for the work, and she's looking forward to the repair cafe's reopening. Yes, because I mean, COVID's changed a lot of things. So, but it's a great concept. It's a really fantastic concept. So good. Absolutely. And City Babysitters has just asked, what about reading glasses? Where can they be recycled? Generally, you can go to places like OPSM, and they will definitely take them. So have a look at. I always advocate ask local. Go to your local places and ask what they can do. Absolutely. And Sarah has just said, in the lead up to Christmas, what is a polite way to let extended family members know that I would not like any gifts for Christmas as I'm in the middle of a big declutter? Yeah, look, that's a great question. And that's one that my clients that I did that case study on had exactly that problem. And it took her about 4 years to convince the family that they didn't want gifts. So it is about just, trying to explain to them why you don't want them. And the way she actually, one of the things that she said to them was, well, look, the greatest gift you can give me is taking the kids for the day. I always say to people, can you pay for a cleaner for me? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be physical stuff. It could be movies, tickets to the movie. It could be anything like that. Yeah, pay for the cleaner, or just do other things other than just thinking about buying stuff. Absolutely. And Andrea has actually just said experience vouchers. So facials, massages, things like that. Oh, and I know sometimes teachers' gifts are really difficult ones. And I know a lot of teachers who say to me, every year I get about 10 mugs. But something we did, I've got a 6-year-old. So we're about to do this year's first school one. But in kindergarten, I actually put together a jar and I did a recipe in it. So it was brownies the first year, with instructions on the wet ingredients they had to add. And then the next year it was my famous, it's only really famous in my house, but famous choc chip cookies. And I layered the ingredients. So it became an experience for them. And then they could use the jar to house the cookies.
Correct. That's a fantastic idea. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. It's about, let's use our imagination. Let's let it out of the box. It needs a airing occasionally. I've lost you.
That's because I had myself on mute. Suggesting gift cards, so they can use, you can use that for stuff that you actually need. So it might be a new pair of pants for work or something like that.
Yeah. And look, sometimes I feel that, we're buying things for people that they don't want. So sometimes, if you're comfortable with this, ask them, what would they like? And if you don't feel comfortable in asking, I say do a little snoop around the house and see, look at things that they use a lot, and it could be getting worn or something like that. And you think, oh, I'm going to get them a new one of those because I know they use them all the time.
Absolutely. And Sadir has actually said, we've decided to bake some puff pastry products, sweet and savoury, various shapes and fillings, reducing packaging and clutter for unwanted gifts. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
And I must say, listening to your presentation, a couple of years ago, I made jam for my cousins for Christmas.
Yep.
For other people in my house. I made a Christmas jam with some cinnamon and things like that in the strawberries. And while I was listening to your presentation, I thought, I'm going to make that this weekend because I got great feedback on it and it was made with love. And I think that's the biggest difference with Christmas. It's not so much about what you're giving, it's why you chose it.
Absolutely. We've been through a really tough year this year, and I just sort of I think that's why I chose that picture of that man giving that little girl a hug, because haven't we all craved that? Haven't we all missed that? And I just wonder how many of us have actually really missed the shops.
I have not.
Yeah.
I have not.
I mean, there's been the online shopping, but I mean, does it give us that same feeling?
And I have to say, I was down in Main Street, Mornington, the other day, and a shop assistant said to me, how are you? Instead of just going, good, thanks. I went, I'm actually really good. How are you? And we ended up staying there having a great conversation about how grateful we are to live where we live, how nice it is for the warm weather and to see people out again, and the closure of Main Street so people can walk easily and enjoy the space. And it was such a different experience to 9 months ago.
Real conversations.
Absolutely. Now, Andrea has also said our family does a shared gift for each other, for each other's family. One thing for the whole family to share, like a board game, plus a junk food treat hamper. So maybe chocolates that would be eaten while playing the board game.
Very good. Sounds like there's some great ideas there.
Absolutely. And Mira's just said thank you for your wonderful advice.
Oh, that's okay. Now, I can still take questions. I'm happy to do that, but I might just change slide. And if anybody wants to talk over the top of me, you just do that. But I just wanted to share some free resources for people. So there's definitely my website. Now there's blogs on there that, there's some really good information on there, which is always free. So there's the useful links page. Now this page gets used internationally. I've got schools in the US using this because they said it's great, there's no spam. It's just purely links on how we can get rid of our stuff, but doing it in an ethical way. There's links to my events to come along. Now Facebook, I'm pretty active on that. I will have tips and ideas going out 7 days a week on that. So come over and like me there. There's also Instagram and Twitter and those sorts of things. There's also, you can sign up to my monthly newsletter, which I haven't written this month, but I do have to do it before the end of the week. And you'll receive a free ebook, and that's just 50 quick tips to reduce waste and move towards a sustainable lifestyle. And the other thing is I have a new book out, which is called Ethically Declutter Your Home in 30 Days, available only from my website. So that's a little, and it's a room by room activities, and every page or every room, it has how to actually, the system that I went through here. So that is available on my website. The other thing, if people would like to, is if they want to email me, and that's my email address, and I send out a little survey. And one of the questions there is, how many kilos have you diverted from landfills since you've started decluttering? And that information, I gather up all that information, we add it to this figure. Now, if you were to do that, I then send you out as a thank you another free ebook, which is called Declutter Wardrobe Bootcamp. And that's how to kick your wardrobe into shape. And that's just my way of saying, thank you for taking the time to do my little survey. It's only 10 questions. It takes less than 2 minutes to do it. But that information is so valuable for myself. And also I can then feed that back to City of Frankston and say, from that workshop, we diverted so many kilos from landfill. And then they can feed it back into their resources and their information. So some workshops I've ran, we've diverted everything from 25 kilos to 550 kilos. So, you know, any little bit that you do, it does help. And then that helps me get out there to be able to introduce this system to other people, because they can look at it and think, this is actually working. And just sorry.
No, it's because City Babysitters has also said sign up for the Cheapskates newsletter. It's amazing.
Cheapskates. Okay. Haven't heard of that one.
Oh, and I've also got a question. Kayleen has asked, what can I do with old DVDs?
Check with your local council whether or not they take them. That's something, that's a really important one. Because some will recycle them and some won't. So that's what you're going to have to do there.
And I think that's all we've got in the chat at the moment.
All right. We've still got a few minutes if people have any further questions that they want to share with me. I'll just bring up that one there. And
Karen's asked about video. Karen's asked about videos, old videos.
Okay, videos are a little tricky because you have a plastic case and then you have a ribbon inside. Now the ribbon they're two different materials, very different materials. The ribbon is covered with chemicals. So the only way I've heard of this being done is somebody got to them with a hammer, literally, and smashed the case, and the case went into the recycle bin and the ribbon went into the landfill bin. Big problem if you put the ribbon into the recycle bin is when it gets to the recycle centre, what they've found is that ribbon is getting caught around the conveyor belts in the sorting process. And then it stops the process. It stops that conveyor belt, is downtime, and it has to go to landfill anyhow. So that's the only thing I've heard of somebody doing it successfully. But again, you want to check with your local council whether it's suitable for them, because they might say, no, look, it has to go to landfill. So that's the only thing I've heard about.
Myra's also mentioned Dress for Work is taking good quality clothes to help people who can't afford an outfit for job interviews. Yeah. So that's always a good one.
There's lots of those sorts of things around. There's Dressed for Success, Wear for Success, Fitted for Work. There's so many of those sorts of things. So again, it's about, there could be somebody on this webinar who's from Brisbane or something like that. Check to see what's happening in your local area and start asking questions then. And that's about how we can be responsible. We can actually become our little advocates for change and get out there and then tell everybody else what we're doing.
Absolutely. And Andrea's mentioned Facebook groups. Buy Nothing in your local area is a great place to offer things not needed. For example, DVDs. Gardeners might have fruit trees that they want to use the DVDs on the fruit tree to scare away birds. Also, some arty people use them for creative projects. So you're right. So one person's trash really is another person's treasure.
Correct. Yeah.
And Sarah's...
Sorry.
No, you go.
One thing that people always say to me, what do I do with ceramics and things like that, chipped and broken things? Yes, you can go to your local community house and ask them if they have a mosaic sort of club and they might use them. But when you actually break or chip ceramics, cups, bowls, and all those sorts of things, that cannot be recycled. It has to go to landfill. Okay, so any of those things have to go to landfill.
That's good to know. And Sarah's mentioned TerraCycle's makeup dental recycling programs.
Yep.
But she can't find one near her. So do you have any advice for that one?
Okay, you can start one yourself. I've started one myself. Depending on where does she say where she lives?
Sarah, can you pop in the chat where you live? Wanturna.
Okay.
That'd be Knox.
Okay, so I would probably hop onto the TerraCycle website, and you can either register to do it yourself, or I presume you've searched TerraCycle to see who's in the area, because you just got to make up, like, sign in and become a member, and then you can see the people in your area. But I just stick an extra mailbox on my mailbox, and then all my neighbours, when they're out walking the dog or the kids, they drop them in, and then I bundle up and send it off. So, you could do it yourself.
I was going to say, how do I become your neighbour? No.
You'd have to buy a house next door.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, Suda's also asked, how do I create an account for login in the Eco Organiser? How
do I create an account to log into Eco Organiser?
Do you have a login section?
It's coming. Okay.
Yeah,
that's something that's on my to-do list. Is I'm going to be developing online courses, and that is coming. So
for right now, you don't need one.
No, but I've just had a brand new website built, and I'm really, really happy with it. But I've still got a bit of work to do there. So sorry about that.
Wonderful. Any more questions while we've got Tanya?
Nobody said why they want to do this.
And nothing's coming through. Can I tell you that I've been decluttering for about 18 months, like just little bits at a time, like you were saying. And when you're in the mood to, I think you've definitely got to be in the mood to have a really positive outlook on it.
Yep.
But I'd like my space back. I really want a space that I'm proud of, that people can come and visit, because I do have a lot of things, books piled up on the ground. Well, I love my books, and they add a lot to my life. So I want to build a space for them. But to do that, I want to sell off things to be able to afford that space and save for it. So just working towards that.
Maybe it's about setting a timeline as well. You have your why, which is great. And also too, standing back and being quite critical about it and say, I'd love to keep it, but really it's not going to fit. Our homes don't come with elastic side walls. So we do need to be quite strong and realistic about what we can fit in within our space, and also be thinking about our budget and all those sorts of things as well. So set a timeline and work towards that maybe.
Well, I've got a few reasons coming through, a few whys coming through. So Ruth is sick of moving things to find something that I'm looking for.
Yep.
I think we've all been there. Andrea is here to get more tips and tricks for organising things. Okay. Studia is here. She delivers lectures in sustainability. This is my motivation to join this webinar with Tanya.
Oh, wow.
Anne has said she wants to do this because it fits with my personal values. I've acquired so much clutter because I don't just want it to go to landfill. So I think having those options has really opened things up for her.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah has said, I want to do this so I can find the things I know I have somewhere.
The clutter spiral.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one, Sarah. I'm guilty of, I think I own 3 hot glue guns.
Yeah.
For that very reason. I don't know where the first one is, but I know I own it.
And it all costs money, and it all, takes energy to make these things. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry?
Ruth was just asking, do you have any news or information about when the garage sales will be able to start again and what the COVID safe rules are? Has there been any advice on that at this point?
No, I know that they had garage sale trail last weekend or the weekend before. That's a national garage sale. That was and I know they did it a little bit differently in Victoria, but I know it was still running in every other state. No, I haven't heard anything about that at all. Again, I suppose check with your council, because they're going to have COVID rules.
For sure.
And of course, it's different in every state and every council. It just makes it so easy to do things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I was asking the question, I'm thinking, well, unless we've got advice, we don't really know. So at this point, we still don't know. So
Yeah. Okay.
Somebody's also said any extra wool can be used by Kogo, which is knit one, give one.
Okay. Yep. Look, there's so many fantastic places out there that we can turn our clutter into opportunities, and there's some beautiful stories that I hear. So again, it's just about think and act local, and you'll be rewarded. You really will be rewarded. One lady who came to my, and this will probably be at my last one because we are running out of time, but one lady came to my workshop many years ago, and she emailed me afterwards, and she said, oh no, she completed the survey. And she donated over 100 kilos of stuff. So I just had to get on the phone and ring her up and have a chat to her and say, what did you do? She said, I decluttered my art studio of all this paper that I just don't use. And she said, I went down to the local primary school and knocked on their door and said, do you want it?
And they would have absolutely jumped at it.
And so it freed up her space. And she just said to me, when that stuff was gone, it freed my mind. And my creative spur came back again. And the school was given stuff that they needed and they didn't have to spend money on, which then the parents didn't have to contribute in fees. So there's so many fantastic stories. I love that we can recycle our bread tags and it makes wheelchairs. I mean, I love the fact now that we're actually developing a paper bread tag now in Australia. That's only just come out this week. So, there's great things out there. It's just about being, aware of them, that's all. And that's what Eco Organiser tries to do and make it easy for you to recycle.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we've all taken something away today.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been nice to see you again.
It's always lovely to see you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a great Christmas, everybody.